Hey guys, welcome back to the channel, and this is going to be an exciting video to show you how to render PDF reports using Carbon.io. Carbon.io is an open source tool to generate PDF reports, and I think you should go check it out. So this is what we're going to be building in today's video. We're going to be making use of Carbon.io, and we're going to use it to generate PDF reports for a B&B booking application I had already built out. So let me show you what we have in the application. By the way, this is the landing page of Carbon.io, and I think it looks really cool. So let's head to the application so that I can show you what we already have. So right here we have a login screen, and I'm just going to go to the view mode so that I can show you what we have set up. So let's do a quick login. I'm going to put in my email and also my phone number to log in. All right, so we have the phone number, and I'm just going to click on the login button. And here in the application, we have the new booking page where users can go create a new booking. We also have a current booking page where they can see history of all of their bookings or previous bookings and their current booking. So what we want to do here is build a system in such a way that they can generate a report of all of the bookings they've made, which can be sent out via email to say, for example, the finance team, so that the company can reimburse them for all of the bookings that has been made, or they can send it to whoever they actually want it to be sent to. So we're going to be building the PDF generation workflow using Carbon.io, and this video is going to be split into 3 parts. So we'll start by taking a look at how to create a PDF template using Carbon.io. I'm going to show you how to set that up. Then I'll show you how to render PDFs using the templates you've created on Carbon.io. And lastly, I'll show you how to email PDF reports generated with Carbon.io from Appsmith so that it can be sent out to whoever you want it to be sent to. So this is what we'll be taking a look at in today's video, and let's get started. My name is Confident and I'm a developer advocate at Appsmith. Let's get started. Alright, so the first thing we need to do here is sign up or sign in if you already have an account with Carbon. I have an account, so I'm just going to sign into my account. And right here we have my studio, and as you can see, this is where we can create templates from to use with our rendering process. So if you take a look at this sample template that is provided here, you can see that we have some data to the side, and here we have the rendered output, and we're going to be building a similar template as you've seen right here. So to create a template, what you need to do is click on the report, that's to add a new report. By the way, Carbon also have a couple of folders. As you can see, we have a shared folder, and we also have an other folder. This is where the sample template is. So for the template we're going to be creating, I'm just going to put it in the other folder. So let's go create a new template. All right, and here is where we supply a template document. The template document needs to be in the ODT format, and I'm just going to quickly show you how to do it. It's really easy. So open up a new browser tab and go to docs.google.com, and here you can create a document that will be used as a template. I already have one created right here, and it's the booking quotes document. If you take a look at this, you can see right here that we have some template strings within the templates document, and this is how Carbon is able to figure out how to hydrate the templates whenever we go render a PDF. So right here we have a template string for customer, we have a template string for the prepared date, we have one for the expiry date, and if you take a look at the table, we're also rendering the entire table from data supplied to the template. So here we are passing an array of bookings, and for the name, that's going to be the hotel name. We also have one for guests, nights, price, and booking price. And then for the next row, to be able to help Carbon figure out how to render the next row, we're just going to pass up the same data as in the first column of the table, which is this right here, and we're going to increment it by 1, and then it knows exactly how to iterate through the data to create more rows in the table. And here we also have a template for the total. So this is very similar to the template string in Appsmith. The only difference right here is that it has single brackets and not double brackets. All right, so I have this template done, and I'm just going to download it. Make sure when you're downloading, this is downloaded as ODT format. So I'm just going to download as ODT, and we have my templates downloaded. So let's go ahead to make use of that template right here in the studio. So I'm going to select my template file. All right, I'm going to call this the B&B quotes, and I'm going to save it in the other folder. So this looks good, and I can go ahead to add this. And right here, you can see that we have a brand new template. So the next thing we need to do now is render PDFs using this template. And in order to render a PDF using this template, we need to supply data to this template. So let's figure out a way to get data into the template. And the best way to do it is to head back to the application and actually write a script right here that does exactly that. So I'm going to go to the edit mode, and what we want to do is render a template based on the data displayed on this table. And if we take a look at the queries, the data rendered in the table is coming from the get bookings query, and it has all of this information right here within it. So let's go create a new function here that is going to grab that data, and then we can use that data to render the template. So let's create a function, let's call it get data. All right. And this function is going to return an object. All right, so heading back to the templates, we want the customer name to be dynamic, so hence we have it in a template string. Same also goes for the preparation date for the template and also the expiry date. So let's do all of that and write that in the JavaScript function right here. So to start, we want to grab the customer name. So this is going to be customer. And we can grab that from appsmith.store.customer name. Next, we have the preparation date. So this is going to be the prep date. And for the prep date, we can actually use the moment library to figure out whatever today's date is. So this is going to be moment, and we can do a dot format right here. And let's format it using the long format. So if I go ahead to run this, you can see we have an object being returned with the customer and preparation date, and this looks nice. The other things we need to use in this template is the expiry date. So let's do that. This is going to be the exp date. And for the expiry date, we are going to try to calculate whatever today's date is and add 2 months to it so that we know the quotes or the reports generated here would expire in 2 months. So this is going to be moment dot add, and we want to add month. We want to add 2 months, and then format the response in a long format. All right. So if I go run this, we should have that coming back, and this looks good. Now, what we want to do is also add the data for the bookings, which will be used to render the table in the template. So we want to add this data. And to do that, we need to be able to grab that information from the get bookings query. Because if we take a look at the response from the get bookings query, we can see that we have all of that data right here. So we want to be able to pull out the hotel name. We also want to be able to pull out the hotel price, the number of guests, the number of nights, and also the booking price, which is calculated based on the number of nights, the number of guests, and the hotel price. So let's go to do that. I'm just going to head back to the function right here, and let's add a bookings array. All right, so for the bookings, this is going to come from getBookings.data, and we can map over this and return an array of objects. So I'm just going to return an array of objects. Each object is going to have a name, which is going to be i.name. We also want to have the hotel price, which is going to be i.price. And if we do a quick return right here, you can see that we have that data coming back in the bookings array. This is an array, and we have a bunch of objects having name and price. The other thing we want to do here is add the number of nights and guests. So this is going to be guests, which will be i.guest. We also want to add nights. This should have an S right here. So this is S, nights. This is going to be i.nights. All right. And the last thing we want to add here is the booking price. So this is going to be booking price, which is going to come from i.booking price. All right, this looks good. So if we go run this function, we should have all of that data coming back in. this should be booking price with a small p, and let's go rerun this and we should have the booking price coming back. And this looks nice. So we have all of that information coming back. The last thing we need to add here, as we saw from the template, is the total. And this will be the sum of all of the booking price added up together. So let's go create the total. So for the total, I'm just going to add one more key here. This is going to be total. And the total is going to come from the sum of all of the booking price. So we can do a get bookings.data and we can do a reduce here. What we want to do is pass in a reducer function that will have the previous value and the current value. And for the reducer function, it's going to add the previous value to whatever the current value dot booking price is. And we can start the previous value or initialize it to 0 so that it starts from 0 and accumulates up to the end of the last booking price we have here. So let's test this out. I'm going to execute the get data function and let's take a look at what we have in the booking price. And we can see that we have the total right here showing up. But one small thing is that this actually has a lot of decimal points. So I'm just going to round this up to 2 decimal places using the toFixed method. All right, so we have the toFixed and I'm just going to say 2. So let's run this one more time. And let's take a look at what we have here. And now we have nice data showing up for the total price. So here we have that data coming out. So I can copy this data over and let's head back to the studio. Now I can paste that in right here and it's going to automatically reload the template right here in the browser. And if we take a look at the preview, you can see that we have all of that data being rendered in the template, which is awesome. So now we have gotten data from Appsmith and now we're rendering it right here within the template. But what we want really is to be able to trigger the render process from within Appsmith. So in order to do that, you need to have an API key and we need to run the render API call. So to do that, I'm just going to show you how to grab your API key. To get your API key, you need to go to your account settings, and to do that, click on your email right here and go to the Carbon account button. Click on the Carbon account button, and this is where you get your API key. So you have the test API key and you also have the production API key. The difference between the test and the production API key is that with the test API key, you actually have a watermark across your generated PDF, but you don't have that with the production API key. So I highly encourage you to get a production API key. The only drawback is that you would need to fill in your credit card information, but you don't need to pay for it because you actually have a free plan which allows you to generate 100 PDFs per month. So go on, try it out, and you can use the free plan, which actually costs $0. So I actually already have my production API key and we'll be making use of this. So to figure out what API we need to call from Appsmith to run the render process, we're just going to go to the documentation. So let's go to carbon.io and let's go to documentation. We can head over to API references and take a look at what we have in the Carbon render curl. And let's look at what we have under render a report with curl. All right, and here we have the curl command to render a report. So I'm just going to copy this out. All right, and we can head back here to Appsmith and let's import this. So I'm going to click on import new call or new call import. Let's paste this in and we can click on the import button. And this looks good. So here is where we come to make some changes to the API. By the way, I'm just going to call this the render report API or render PDF API. So let's call it render PDF. And let's go to grab our template ID. So for the template ID, head back to your studio. So let's head back to studio. I'm going to head back to my template, which is the B&B quotes. I'm going to click on the info button and here is where we can grab our template ID. So I'm just going to copy this out. Let's head back to Appsmith and I'm going to paste this in as the template ID. Then we also need the API key. So head to your Carbon account. I'm going to grab the API key. It needs my password, so I'm going to supply my password right now. All right. and I've copied my API key. So let's head back here and paste it in right here, and that looks good. Last thing we need to configure is the body. So for the body, I'm going to go to set this to JSON, and for the data, this data is going to be coming from the get data function that we just built out. So this is going to be coming from utils.getData, and here we can see all of that data being evaluated, and we look good to go. So if we go run this, for example, we should have an error. And if you take a look at this, it says error while rendering template format ODT. It can't be converted to PDF. The reason why this error is coming is because, as you may have already noticed, these quotes look a bit funny. So let's go fix that here. So instead of the quotes we have right here, I'm just going to delete them and use regular quotes. And if we click on the run button, we should actually have that PDF rendered, and it's rendered now. We have the success true, and this is the render ID. So to view the actual PDF, we can copy this out. So I'm just going to copy this render ID out. Let's open a new browser tab, and I'm going to append a URL path in front of the render ID. So let's do that. I'm going to append this to the top, and this is render.carbon.io/render and then the PDF ID. And if we hit this, we should be able to preview the PDF we have rendered, and this is the same PDF you saw earlier. So let's go ahead to do this all automatically from Appsmith, which we are actually already doing with the render PDF API. The last step right here is taking all of this data or the rendered PDF and sending it out as an email to whoever we want it to be sent to. So this is the part where I show you how to email the rendered PDF from within Appsmith to whoever you want it sent to. So to do that, we need to create some UI on the page, and for this we'll need to get a modal. All right, so right here we have a modal widget. For the modal widget, we need a button to be able to open it up from the UI. So let's go get a button widget. All right, so this is a button widget. All right, and I'm just going to call this button the get quotes button, and we can set the button type to secondary because we already have a primary button right here. And when this button is clicked on, let's go open up the modal. So let's do an open modal, and this is going to be modal 2. So clicking on this button opens up the modal, and I'm going to call this modal the get quote modal. All right, so this looks good. For the modal, we need a couple of inputs. We need 2 inputs. One is to select who we want this to be sent to, and then we can also type in the email address of who we want it to be sent to. So let's go grab 2 inputs. We need a select input, all right? And we also need a text input, which I'm going to place right here. All right, so this looks good. I'm going to expand them all the way and also do that for the select widget. All right, so this looks good. So for the select widget, this is going to be where we select who we want this to be sent to. So we can either send it to self or to someone else. So let's put in the options here. So we have 2 options. We have send to self and also send to others. And we can set this default to send to self. All right, we have that right there. So the next thing we can do is go on to customize this a bit. For the label, we can say send to and set the column width to 10, for example. And this looks good. For the second input we have here, this is where we can type in the email if we select send to others. So for this, I'm just going to call this email and set the column width to 10. And we can automatically pre-fill the email address if send to self is selected. So for the default text, what we can do is say if select one.selected option value equal to self. What we can do is display the customer's email. So this is going to come from appsmith.store.customer else we can set this to an empty string. All right, so I'm just going to change this to a question mark, and here we have the customer's email right there. The last thing I want to do is make sure that this input is disabled if sent to self is selected. So let's go in to do that. So for the disabled, I'm going to enable JavaScript and say if send to self is selected, we want this to be disabled. So if we go to set send to other, we have the input enabled, and now we can go in to type out the actual email address, and this looks fine. So the last thing we're going to do is connect the application to an SMTP email server so that we can actually start sending out actual emails. So to do that, we're going to be using Postmark. All right, this is postmarkapp.com. I already have an email server set up using Postmark, so I'm just going to use it right here within my application. And to do that, we need to connect to the SMTP integration. So let's make use of the SMTP integration. I'm going to click on data sources and let's go select SMTP. I'm going to call this Postmark. All right. And here we need to fill out the connection details. So for the host, this is going to be postmarkapp.com. For the port, this is going to be port 587. And for the username and password, I'm just going to grab that. So I have the username right here. I'm just going to paste this in, and I'm also going to paste in my password. We can test this to see if the connection is good and we have a valid data source. So I can go ahead to save this right here. And now we can go to create a query that actually sends out the email. So let's create a new query, and I'm going to call this send email. All right. And for the from email address, this is going to be the email address I already have set up on my Postmark email server. This is going to be marketing@appsmith.com. All right. For the to email address, this is going to come from the input we have on the modal. So this is going to be input1.text. Right now it's blank, but it's going to get filled in whenever we have an email in that input. For the subject, I'm just going to say something as simple as, let's say, booking quotes. And then for the body, we are going to say something like, this is a link to your quotes, something very simple. So let's say, view quote link here, view quote PDF here, and here's going to be a link to the quote PDF. So here we are directly appending the URL path, and here we're just going to throw in the render ID from the get PDF or render PDF API. So this is going to be render pdf.data.render ID, and here we can see the entire link is added here. So this looks good. The last thing we need to do is write a function that would trigger rendering the PDF, sending the email, and also closing up the modal once the submit button is clicked on. So let's go back to the utils file, and here we are going to have a send email function, right? And for this, we would need to make it an asynchronous function. So this is going to be async. All right. And here we can start by rendering the PDF. So we're going to do an await render pdf.run. All right. And when that's done, we want to go ahead to send out the email. So this is going to be await send email.run. All right. Then when the email is sent out, we can do a show alert to let the user know that the email has been sent out. So we can do show alerts. Let's say report sent to whoever the email address is, or whatever the email address is, which is going to come from input1.text. And we can set this to success. And lastly, we can close the modal. So we can do a close modal and close up modal 2. All right, so this looks good, and we can hook this function up to the UI. So let's head back to the UI and let's click on the get code button. So whenever the confirm button is clicked on, I'm just going to call this the send button. Whenever this is clicked on, we want to go ahead to run the send email JavaScript function. And here, I'm just going to select send to other and type in my email address. So this is confident@appsmith.com. And once I click on the send button, we should have a confirmation that the report is sent to my email address. So let's go check this out. I'm just going to open up my email address. This is going to be mail.google.com. And here we have the report coming in saying that we can view the PDF here. So I'm just going to click on it. And here we have the PDF quotes rendered from Appsmith using carbon.io. So this looks really cool, and you can actually do a lot given the template structure that is provided in carbon.io. Alright, and that's it for this video. If you'd love to learn more, we made a video right here on how to use attachments with the SMTP integration, so you can go check out that video right here. And if you also love to explore other ways to render PDF reports in Appsmith, we made a video right here using apitemplate.io, so go check that out if you want more options. Alright, that's all for today's video. I hope you found this helpful, and don't forget to get subscribed. See you in the next video. Take care. Bye bye.